Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. We've got Big E, we've got AJ, and we've got Rudo coming to you live today. We're building the Colorado Avalanche free agency board. Who are some of the best options out there in free agency for Colorado? A couple of things here. First, yes, we know the Avs currently have basically no cap space, but we're operating in a world where they're going to free up some cap space. So we aren't too worried about spending money. There's a very real world where the Avs could free up $10 to $15 million in cap space if they want to. Maybe it ends up being more like 5. Maybe it ends up being more like 8. Whatever it ends up being, the Avs can free up cap space, so we're not limiting ourselves to trying to be reasonably realistic with our targets. We're not throwing Mitch Marner in there. We're not going to throw Sam Bennett in there. With the Brock Nelson signing the other day, we're not really looking at 2Cs anymore. So we tried to be realistic as possible with our lists on actual options that the Avs may target and may actually have.
Dude, it's bad. And anytime you're almost like dependent on guys not getting qualifying offers to provide like some real meat in a free agency class, it's a bad class.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't know how else to put it.
Slim pickings. I think you're gonna have to be creative.
Creative indeed. Before we jump in, there is a little bit of news, at least somewhat Avs related today. Big E, I mean, you could probably touch on this better than anyone with Danny Hinote getting hired by Tampa Bay, leaving what was a role with the Colorado Eagles to go jump at an opportunity in the NHL. Happy for him. Wish him nothing but the best. Should be interesting to see how he comes up as a coach there.
Yeah, and that tells me that as we're probably going in a different direction for their opening. You know what I mean? Obviously, it sounds like it. Again, I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together. So then he probably saw an opportunity somewhere else, or it was just a pure decision. That for his personal life was easier to go back to not back, but go to Florida. I'm not too sure. Again, I know Danny, but yeah, it's not like I'm real tight with him these last 10 years or so I don't really know his personal life, but maybe there's some stuff that would bring him to the East Coast. I don't know. But what it tells me is the Avs they were going a different direction, you know what I mean? And when I say a different direction, and not getting rid of him in Colorado Eagles, but adding, it doesn't look like they were going to add him to their staff. They're looking for something else. So good luck to him. Great dude, great guy, great glue guy. Are you talking about stepping up? 0-1 playoffs. My Lord, when Forsberg went down, those guys, you ended up playing second line duty with Chris Drury and Nemo Vili Nieminen. So it just shows that you guys can step up at the right time. And Danny made a career right there, you know what I mean? Of when he stepped up and became a Stanley Cup champion and still working in the NHL. So that's good.
Yep. I mean,
You're on mute, Rudo.
My bad.
That helps usually, There you go.
It does, yeah.
And I'm the dumb one. I'm the inadequate guy here, with technology. Please.
Not today, buddy. Look, it appears to be coaching change season. I will say, go watch our DLLS show if you really want to get into the Pete DeBore firing. But Pete DeBore did officially get fired by Dallas. It's hard for me not to think those end of season pressers didn't have something to do with that.
100%.
I mean, it's everything that happened with Ottinger, the way he pulled him, the way he stopped talking to him, and then the way that he got into the biggest bus he could find and drove over their franchise goaltender and then backed up and hit the body a few more times on the way out. Like, I know that there's a lot of conversation about Pete DeBoer and Jared Bednar and like the mastery of him, but like there's a reason that Pete DeBoer gets fired. and it continues to be this. It continues to be his players can't stand him, and he hates goaltenders. I don't understand what it is, but the whole infamous sword in the back of Marc-Andre Fleury meme. Guess who the coach was that did that? Like, this is the thing with Pete DeBoer. Wildly successful, right? But there's a ticking clock on him, and he just can't seem to help himself in some of these moments where he just talks himself into the coaching grave. Now, he's a great coach. He'll get another one. He'll get another opportunity here. I am very hopeful that it
Let him go.
is out
Please
east.
go out east. Yeah.
But also, isn't the timing of it a little interesting? Like, all the openings get filled and then they fire him. And so it's like, now they don't have to they know all the other openings get filled. They don't have to compete with him for a year. That's a good thing for them. That's a good thing for Colorado.
Yep.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I am very curious. Does Steve Spott stay on as an assistant? Because he follows DeBoer everywhere he goes. But if DeBoer doesn't have a job this year, does he just stay in Dallas? Or does Colorado go, hey,
you want to stick it to those guys? That needs fixing.
You want to stick it to those guys? Let's go. Come on. Land in Denver until DeBoer gets another job.
I'm down.
Yeah, but you're right, and you're right. And I always tell you guys, there's there's a lot of stuff you don't know, you don't hear because you're not supposed to. But this timing, I'm not a cop, you know what I mean? But man, I think it tells you a little bit of yes, there was a little bit of let's just wait and see and everything. Oh, no more vacancies, and all right, you're gone. You know what I mean? And it was more like something must have happened. Of course, the goaltending, 100%, but it stems from something else, right? It's been brewing, and it's like, and it's more like, all right, I'll show you. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'll show you. You know what I mean? I'll wait till. And I'm not saying Jim's that way. He's a good man. I've always told you guys that. Jim Nill's a good man. Only hear good things. A good human being, but Pete's a good man too. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you're right. It's the way your demeanor is sometimes with your players, and all of a sudden 3-4 years, it's too long. You know what I mean? And it just didn't work anymore. And then the Ottinger thing was the last straw. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, but even on the moment, you're like, oh, oof. And then as soon as that first shot goes in on the Smith, you're like, ouch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Not because of the Smith, right? But ouch. You know what I mean? Like, now what do? You go backwards? You go back? You know what I mean? You can't. There's no way you could do that to that goalie. Either you go back in. I don't know. Nobody's got the Patrick Waugh. That's got the biggest mindset ever. I don't think he would have been able to go back in that game. I don't care what people say. I think Ottinger at that time was toasted. He would have been shocked, and so yeah, you made your bed right there. That was it.
We saw it with Georgiev in a regular season game. Gets pulled and then has to go back in and loses his mind when he gets scored on.
It's hard.
So
hard.
I mean, that's a real kick in the nuts. Both of them. Both of those things happening. Getting pulled always sucks. Getting pulled on 2 goals on 2 shots in an elimination game, that's gonna suck. But then immediately watching your backup get scored on, it's like, and then your coach says that to you, says that about you in the post-game presser.
Not great.
Not
great.
Yeah. The timing of it, I thought, was the most interesting part. Not that it happened. We all thought after those comments, we were like, oh, he gone.
Yeah.
But that they waited for all the vacancies to be filled. He gone, but we don't want to compete against him.
Who's the coach in Texas again? Is it Derek? Who's in Texas? Is it Derek Laxdal? I don't remember.
Look, I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but I'll look.
Because they're in the finals, right?
Idea.
Are they in the finals?
Sure.
No, Charlotte's in the Charlotte against
Neil Graham as their head coach in Texas.
Maybe they really like Neil.
I'm sure. I'm sure that's what it is, and that they don't have someone else on the hook in the coaching carousel that never ends. But I mean, I think it's a good point, right? It takes a special type of coach to have the tenure of a Jared Bednar or a John Cooper. And I can't say
Absolutely.
Sullivan anymore because he doesn't have the tenure anymore. But
Yeah.
he's somewhere else now.
Absolutely. You're managing that. We talked about that with David Carl, right? Not that David Carl wouldn't be able to manage. We're saying it's irrelevant to David Carl's resume. You're managing egos with millions and millions of dollars. It's a hard task, and you got to do your part. And you can tell that Pete, that's been around for a long time, made not only did he make a mistake, it was a mistake. Maybe he'll never admit it. Maybe 5 years from now, but even compounded the mistake with the post game. You know what I mean? Which he just kept going. You know what I mean? And he just kind of dug himself even more. So, um, but you're managing egos, and that's what coaching in the NHL is. You're a therapist for 25 guys and the staff, and X's and O's are X's and O's, and but the rest is even more important.
All right. We can move into the main topic of today's show. I imagine it's going to take a while. We each made our own top 10 lists of free agent options for the Colorado Avalanche. We're going to combine our lists and give you a big free agency board for the team of the best possible options out there. I will start just because my number 10 is a purely emotional. I think it would be a cool thing. I don't think he should actually be on a top 10 list for the Avalanche this makes your team significantly better. But my number 10, in a world where the Avs need a 13th forward and they've got like $800K left over or something, and you wanted to bring a guy back that maybe wouldn't have the expectations about him this time around. My number 10 would be Tyson Jost, just because I think it would be a feel-good story.
They love him in Carolina. They love him in Carolina. And I know you're going to say he doesn't even play all the time. No, I know. They love him for what he is, right? For where they use him for, And unfortunately for Josty I was a big fan, believe it or not. And I'm going to be honest with you, like this is all when the Sam Bennett stuff was going down. You know what I mean? Like I pushed hard for that one. You know what I mean? Like I pushed hard for that one. Like give him, let's give them Bennett. We'll take Jost, and you know what I mean? Like, but my bosses were. I would have been wrong. I would have been wrong. That's one I would have been wrong on. You know what I mean? But they didn't go for it, right? You know what I mean? So now you are where you are, and he's a good pro. He's a good person. He'll keep playing. He'll keep playing. Unfortunately for him, he just wasn't. What was he? 14th overall, whatever. He
10th.
just
10th.
a 10th. So he's not a top 10 pick. You know what I mean? And it stays with you. You know what I mean? It does. And but that's not his fault. You know what I mean? So good teammate. Guys loved him. I can tell you that. That's another guy. You watch the guys lift the cup, and that's a tough one. Woof, when you're not there.
Yeah.
Buddy, that is hard. So
Felt real bad for him.
yeah. So I do. I mean, you know what? He turned himself into a great PK guy at the end of his tenure with the Avs. Absolutely. Remember? I liked him. I was like, as a PK guy, and you know what I mean? Take the sticker of 10th overall. I liked him.
I think it is worth noting, and it didn't have to be Tyson Jost. Yes, the Avs have great center depth, the 1 through 4. They don't really have a fifth center that you rely on right now. And like that's not an uncommon thing. It's not like a ton of teams are rocking around 5 centers deep. But it is worth noting, hey, maybe you want to pick up a guy that can play center and fill in for you on that role, even if it's not Tyson Jost.
Yeah, I mean, right now they have both Ross Colton and Parker Kelly that could slot in there and do that job, depending on where in the lineup you need it, but they wouldn't do it great.
And one of those guys may or may not end up here in October. So
yeah, exactly. Well, and Parker Kelly was a bad center, so it's like,
true.
I guess you could put him there. But yeah, Jost. I mean, I loved Tyson Jost. He was such a smart player that, and at this point in his career, knows he may not be in the lineup every single night. He gets it. He's always been really mature, a really good understanding of who he is and how to approach the game. Great professional. I'm with it, man. On an extended free agent list, having him down there as like a hey, maybe why not? I wouldn't mind that reunion at all.
Yeah, again, league minimum deal or close to it for a 13th forward is what that
You
is.
could get him on a two-way. You could get him on a, that's where he's at. You could get him on a two-way.
Sure. We do need to pay a few bills here, so let's make sure we do that before we really dive into our free agency board here. As look, it's that time of year. Summer's right around the corner, and when you're heading out for your next summer road trip, make sure you're ordering at raisingcanes.com or on the Canes mobile app to satisfy your chicken finger fix in a snap. Raising Canes, every chicken finger they make is hand battered and cooked to order. Every crinkle cut fry is crispy and perfectly salted, and every Texas toast is buttered to perfection. Of course, big one. Everyone knows it's about the sauce when it comes to Raising Canes. That's the good stuff. That's why you go to Raising Canes. You put the sauce up everything, and it's absolutely delicious. All of that sauce is made in restaurant every single day, ready to be dipped in. You hungry yet? Go get yourself over to a Raising Canes location. You can get your order today at Canes and keep the road trip going. Raising Canes chicken fingers, one love. And once you get your chicken fingers, once you're nice and full and feeling good, I mean, maybe you go after. I don't know. You can explain whether you eat before or after you're playing sports. Sometimes it depends. But go get with Volo. Volo is Denver's most popular provider of adult social sports leagues, pickup games, and events. Sports offered include soccer, volleyball, pickleball, kickball, basketball, cornhole, and many, many more. And of course, you can play all over the city: Lodo, Rhino, Highlands, City Park, Cherry Creek, South Broadway, many more locations. And even if you're outside of Denver, if you live in any fairly significant metro area, there is probably a Volo chapter nearby you that you can get in with and have some fun playing sports, meeting new people, being social. You can get active in a more fun way than maybe just off by yourself, and it helps you mix up your routine. So go get with Volo today. Players can sign up as a free agent, small group, or full team, and all ability levels are welcome no matter what background you have. Use code DNVR10 for $10 off any Volo Denver league today. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. How do you guys want to do this? You guys want to just work down everyone's lists and we'll build this thing?
Yeah. How many, Tiff? How many are we starting with? Because we can just put Tyson Jost at the bottom of it.
I mean, I was comfortable not even having him on the
Perfect.
list, but
yeah.
Like
Tyson
we can
Jost at
maybe
15.
treat
Yahtzee.
this one as like honorable mentions since there's only like 3 on this board. So whatever.
Sure. All right, Eric, who do you have at the bottom of your list?
Hold on, before that, I just want to take Joey B there. He's got a good, just off topic, just for 10 seconds. You're talking about traveling and you know, the Panthers. I tell you one thing, this is what we've always felt. This is what we have always noticed. Um, in the third and fourth day that you're in that city, like Colorado with the altitude, and Edmonton's a little bit like that, obviously too. There's a little bit of altitude there and a little bit of you know, out of breath stuff and a long flight. And I think teams feel by the third and fourth day you're more gassed. So if you're going there even a day earlier than that, I think they felt that they would be absolutely toasted tonight. Where I still think they're going to be out of gas tonight. And I always tell you guys, it's such a difference, the East and the West. And those teams in the West are used to those big fights. The teams in the East are not. So yeah, I think they have sleep doctors now. They got everything, and they always look into all those things. So just wanted to answer that question there.
I mean,
Um,
if nothing else, it's routine
sorry.
too, though, right?
Yeah,
This is what
yeah.
you do all season long.
I got to
You
be
fly in
honest
the
with
day
you,
before.
and it's long days, boys, on the road. You're sitting there in your room, and I mean, man, it gets old. You know what I mean? You also want to be normal a little bit with your everyday stuff at home, and then you get on the road and it just like, yeah, go to practice in the morning and dinner at 7. It's a long day when you're sitting there. You can play cards so many hours and do your nap and therapy and oh my God. I'm not telling you it's not great. It's awesome. What a life, but whatever. All right, but how do you want to go about this board here? You're saying like I didn't really have them in order, to be honest with you. So I'm not gonna lie and tell you that I have them in order, but how about I go off of your guys' order and then I slide my guys in the way I feel where they are.
All right. AJ,
That's
do you
fine.
have a 10?
Yeah, my 10th is Michael Carcone. A guy whose game kind of fell off a little bit in Utah last year. Did not have quite the same season, but I really like him as a depth guy and as kind of a rebound candidate that has a little bit of skill, a little bit of snarl. Does a lot of things really well. That I just kind of like the all around game, and I think he's a really good buy low option. Buy low option. Jesus.
Um, I like him.
Bruto, you're muted
I've
again.
always liked him.
Slacking today. Yeah, I like him too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying he's got bite. You know what I mean? This is the guy that had bite, even more bite back then. You know what I mean? Like, obviously at the NHL level, it's been a little different, but he can mix it up a little bit, like the style of play. You know what I mean? Like if you need him to slide him up and down. But
I, I
my
mean, I think
thought,
the enticing thing is like there is some offensive upside there, right? If you believe in him as a
yeah,
guy that can maybe replace a Kiviranta on your third line, he's not going to score 20 goals again. That was outrageous, but he's a guy that can maybe give you close to 30 points in a year if you let him play the majority of the year. And you can have a little bit of faith of him potentially putting up third line numbers. I would have had no issues with him for sure. All right. Keep moving. I'll throw my first defenseman out there, who I have at 9.
Okay.
And this is a guy that I was more like, okay, the Avs missed on everyone that I actually want at defense. And if they absolutely need a guy that can play bottom pairing minutes for them, and it'll be fine. And that's Henry Jokiharju.
Yeah, my only thing, I don't really have a big problem with Jokiharju in general. It's just that you have Sam Malinsky already,
Yeah,
and
I get
that's
it.
where he fits in. He would fit in on your third pairing on the right side as more of a skating puck moving type, and that's as like a as if they were to repeat what they did last year with Malinsky, Shillington, Brandstrom, and just like load it up and be like, let's see how this goes. Let's see who wins this battle, right? Like
Yep.
I'm with that. As more of a balance as like an extra guy as a seventh guy ahead of Keaton Middleton. Uh, I'm with that. I just don't know why he would do it. So,
Me neither.
but I have no objection to the pick.
This
no,
this is, I mean, you pretty much nailed it for me. This is exactly, I don't want to be playing Keaton Middleton every night. Protection.
I liked him more at 18. You know what I mean? Really thought he would have become
Yeah,
something else. You know what I mean? Playing at 18 in the league and um plateaued right away. You know what I mean? So, but that doesn't mean that he's not,
yeah,
a good fit for something like this. I just would have projected, as you in scouting, you put ratings, right, what they are today, which is an NHLer 4, right? And then I would have said, he's probably a 4 or 5 or 4 6. He could be a top 4D. You know what I mean? And never panned out, just plateaued right away. You know what I mean? So obviously ended up in a few teams, but yeah, I like that. Again, never have enough D, never have enough Ds. So I'm going to use your expression. I'm good with the pick for sure. I like it.
E, do you have somebody at the bottom of your list that you like?
Yeah. Who's
Yeah.
your least favorite?
Yeah. Well, I had Brock McGinn. You know what I mean? That's
Okay.
and
Yeah.
again,
I
that's
used
if
to
you're not
like him a lot more than I do now, but
yeah, but I man, maybe it's because I love Jamie so much, right? That's one guy that we hit on, and you know what I mean? Like I loved the beginner. What a good teammate. And but his brother, he's got a little, he's got some bite too. And like Jamie did. That was sneaky bite back then, Jamie. And then I like a little depth right there that he would bring. And again, that's if you're
yeah.
walking away from Kibby the Cat, you know what I mean? So that's a guy that somehow can, replace that in your lineup. You know what I mean? If the cat moves on or if the cat prices himself out. So I had guys like that towards the bottom. Brock McGinn.
My
I
only
need
thing with
support.
McGinn is he hasn't really played a full season in 3 years. So
Yeah.
I do wonder a little bit about maybe he falls more in like the Tyson Jost category. But yeah, when he does get in the games, he
Yeah.
can produce a little bit. He's been a good depth NHLer for the majority of his career. He never really took off the way people thought he was going to, similar to a number of other
Yep.
guys. But yeah, I definitely, if he's one of the guys you bring in as forward depth, I have no issues with it. So is what it is on that front. I think the bottom of our list do end up kind of being a lot of guys that it's like, here's the forward that I like to be in the depth somewhere. So I did my 9. AJ, what's your 9?
I've got Victor Olofsson kind of far down on my list. We're well down this path. We talked about him last year. I don't love him.
I had him at 8
but
for the record.
I like him more than I did last year because I wanted to see how he was going to handle being more of a depth guy, somebody that wasn't going to be trusted a lot, and wasn't going to get a lot of empty calorie stats in like he did in Buffalo, where he was playing high on a power play unit. He was prominently involved in the offense, where he was giving you bigger counting numbers than you were ever going to get from him on like a competitive team. And there were a lot more good moments from him as a depth guy than I expected. I really was surprised that I came out of this believing that Victor Olofsson, I'm like, he's actually kind of fine in that role. And as a depth guy that you could drop on a third line next to Ross Colton and Charlie Coyle, at least for now, as a second power play unit guy, like he's a good shooter, he's a good goal scorer. You could put him there, and we saw growth in his game last year that maybe he does have a future in this league in this kind of role.
Yep, fully capable. Look, I had him at 8. Like I said, he's towards the bottom of mine. I think I would probably put him at 7 over the guy I have at 7, thinking about it more in this moment. But I certainly should be on the list somewhere. If you're looking for depth goal scoring ability, which the Avs probably should be, if you're realistically trying to replace what Kiviranta gave you last year, you need a guy that can put the puck in the back of the net a little bit, and Olofsson is definitely one of those guys.
Well,
We'll continue.
that's why I sorry, quickly, that's why I have him too. But I would have had him earlier. You know what I mean? I would have had him earlier because you know my rule. I want 2 power plays. So I need weapons for 2 power plays, and this guy was deadly a few years back
Yeah.
on the power play. So I take him for that, and that's why I had him more towards the top. You know what I mean? Again, I didn't have orders, but I would have had him towards the top. But I'll take him where he's at if you guys are good with it.
Yeah, and I mean we are talking about a guy that unfortunately his contract projection right now is big. It's at 3 years, 3.4 million. I'm
I
not
know.
taking him at that number.
No,
I'm not.
It
I'm
would
not.
have to come down. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be this is one of those, the market doesn't fully materialize for him. And
Yep.
he's a second or third wave free agency guy that has to take an under market deal to show that what happened last year is repeatable for him, especially on a good team.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's fair. Do want to get into a couple of more goal scoring forwards here, but we do need to make sure we hit our break. So let's get into it with that. Look, free agency, it's all about upping the floor. All right. And when you're putting down the floor, That's where Empire Today comes in. Make sure you get with Empire Today if you're looking for new floors, and you can get $350 off with code DNVR, or when you head to empiretoday.com/DNVR. They are the flooring experts. Look, they only carry the best products, whether it's hardwood, tile, or carpet. They have the good stuff. They don't carry junk that's going to go bad, things are going to go wrong. None of that. It's the good stuff that'll last in your house. They have professional installers. You can look at it in a ton of different ways, whether it's going out there, or of course you can go online and use their tools there to see what it looks like by measuring out your space. You can even get a free in-home estimate from Empire Today. They'll send someone out. They'll bring like flooring swatches. You can look at them. You can compare them in your space with your furniture. That's why Empire Today is the best. So make sure you get with them. Schedule that free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. Again, DNVR listeners can get $350 off with code DNVR. And of course, you can go over to empiretoday.com/DNVR for more details and that $350 off. Or of course, you can always call 1-800-588-2300 Empire. Once you've got your new floors placed in your house, make sure when you go out and drive that you're protecting your eyeballs with some Shady Rays. Look, it happens to everybody. Sometimes you lose your sunglasses. Maybe you leave them at the beach, or you left them on the roof of your car as you drove away, or if it's on that gas station 100 miles back on your road trip. Everybody's been there, but you can get with Shady Rays, and it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life. Seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. But here's the cool part. If you lose them or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear. You can take them with you on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, wherever, and Shady Rays has your back. We're teamed up with Shady Rays right now to bring y'all an exclusive offer of 35% off any pair of polarized sunglasses over at shadyrays.com. Use that DNVR code to get that 35% off, and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. shadyrays.com, 35% off, baby. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Getting into the meat of this list. Again, looking at this morning, I regret not having Olofsson ahead of this guy, but I had Anthony Mantha. And are there legitimate injury concerns there? Absolutely. You have to get over that first and foremost. But when you look at a team like the Avs that have pretty consistently gotten pretty good results out of guys that are trying to rehab their career, I do think Mantha is the type that could fall somewhat into that category. You put him on a third line wing, you can get some offensive production out of someone like that. I will say you're asking a lot of someone like Charlie Coyle on the defensive end if you're throwing him in the deep end with someone like an Anthony Mantha. But look, I mean, this is a guy who has had 25 goal seasons in his career. He's a year removed from having a 20-goal season. And obviously, he didn't play hardly at all in Calgary last year. He hasn't really played a full season pretty much ever in his career. I guess 2017-18, when he was still in Detroit, it's basically a full season. So a lot of injury issues there that I could understand would scare people off. But if you can get him on a cheap deal coming off of a very down year, I do think it's an interesting offensive guy, especially if you're looking to fill in some of the things that, and I don't know, it's weird. In some ways, he fills in a Jonathan Drouin role. Obviously, he's far more of a goal scorer, but he's that guy that if you had to put him in a top 6, maybe you don't hate the offense, even if there are other issues there.
I didn't have him on my list. Has he been on my list over the years? Yes. Have I made some phone calls on him over the years? Yes. Very attractive player, right? He's a mammoth of a man, and he can score. My issues with him that I found, and again, everything checks right, from his coach and juniors to, obviously now he's a grown man. Then I'm talking about over the years, this is the guy that you knew was going to bounce around, right? And he did. So everybody was right on him. When the parts are all fitting and everything's great, that's a great pick right there. You know what I mean? But everything has to be perfect for him. That again, I don't know him. That's just what I'm seeing over the years. It needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be rolling. And then if you have that and you got that player, you might get a magical season. You do. But if one little thing out of 10 doesn't go right, it seems like it derails and it just goes south and he gets in the doghouse, chateau bow wow of most coaches, and that's been the history of his NHL career.
So, who would you have in this range of like a forward that can maybe provide a little bit more goal scoring punch?
Well, again, I went a different direction. You know what I mean? Because for me, it's like
Fair enough. You're
in
not
those
worried about the goal
ranges,
scoring.
I again, I'm gonna say a name, and AJ's probably got him at one. I'm gonna say Eric Robinson. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that's kind of what I'm. AJ's got him before one. He's at like zero. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm kind of focusing on. You know what I mean? Like guys like that. I even have Tays in there. Why? Because again, assuming that he can play, assuming that they did their homework like they did with Parise, go see him right now in Phoenix, and I'm sure that multiple teams have been, and the guy's got to want to go to the Avalanche as well, right? You know what I mean? Because he's earned that right, but he hasn't played in a few years. I get that, but for me, Jonathan Tays, somebody in chat mentioned it. I agree with it, and Robinsons, and those are the guys I have in those ranges there. That's who I got. No, Robinson, what's his projected number?
Too much.
I don't think so.
Well, AJ's muted this time. Wasn't me.
Yeah, AJ, you guys are so
Jesus, dude,
not
we're a mess
bright
today.
So we're struggling.
No, don't say
It's-
wait. I'm
It's
not.
Friday. Give yourselves a break.
It's 3 years, 2.5 million.
That's not bad at all.
It's more than what if the Avs could spend their 2.5 million on Eric Robinson and not Miles Wood, I'd be completely fine with that. I have Eric Robinson 7 on my list.
Oh my
So-
God, I thought it was 1. Sorry.
No, I had him at 7 just because level of importance here. My top 5 players on my list, top 6 players on my list, 5 of them are defensemen. So, anyway, yeah, Eric Robinson. Eric Robinson's great. He's been great for years. He's been one of those really underrated heavy bodies that attacks hard, skates well, gets in on the forecheck, and can chip in on offense. My only thing about us targeting some of these, Carcone, Brock McGinn, is that these fourth line, true fourth line guys, at the moment in a fully healthy Avalanche roster, it's not what the Avs need, but you're going to have injuries. You know that there's going to be underperformance. Things are going to happen. It is definitely a great fit stylistically, Eric Robinson. I love him. For him to be at 10 sounds great to me.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with Eric Robinson at 10. Wasn't on my list, but I went with the let's take a crazy risk with Mantha, and I understand not wanting to do that.
But I would have Mantha on there. Honestly, I would. Like I told you, it's a subject in every team. He's a subject of conversation every summer. I'm telling you, it's a fact. I can get to him. I can get to him. Oh, we can get to him. You know what I mean? And again,
where this conversation gets hard is, does Anthony Mantha want $1 million? Because then, yeah, absolutely, come on down, buddy. But if he wants 2.5, if he wants 3, it gets to be a much harder conversation because of his injury issues, especially, let alone his lack of effort at times on the ice. I don't know what he's going to be looking for and what his market looks like, because people are going to look at his history and see he can score goals, and people are also going to look and say he played 13 games last year. It's hard to judge a guy like that.
Yeah.
He is so not for me.
Sure. I see that.
Yeah, everything about Anthony Mantha is like bad Arthur Kaliev, who, if he doesn't get a qualifying offer, I would be all about going to get
He's
that
my guy for sure.
I would go and get that guy.
You like Kaliev, but you don't like Mantha. You don't like the French guy. I get it. All right, fair.
Oh yeah, that's definitely it. That's definitely it. No, I'm
Call
not
HR
a
right now.
I'm not a Mantha guy, but I would be okay putting him on the list. I just would like for him to be behind Eric Robinson because
I'm
Eric Robinson's
comfortable with
actually
that.
good.
I'm comfortable with that for sure. We can put
I
Robinson
agree.
at 9, Mantha at 10 or something.
You could put Mantha 14 if you want. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it with him. You could kick Jost off and put Mantha there if you really want. Let me go to my next guy because I think I'm going to move from a guy that's not for you at all, AJ, to a guy that's kind of for you. And you
God.
convinced me of this the other day. Christian Dvorak, if he doesn't stay in Montreal. I think that nod says
I think
it
they're
all.
keeping him.
I think they probably
they're
are
keeping him
too.
in Montreal.
But again,
Well, yeah.
this is kind of the reality of the Avs situation. If you want to hear about the big name forwards available in free agency, that's not where the Avs are at. That's just not the things that they're going to be targeting.
Not the show for you, that's for sure.
Yeah. They're going to be looking for those cost-effective depth pieces in free agency. And I take cost-effective with a grain of salt when it comes to free agency. Sometimes markets go crazy, but I do think Dvorak in a lot of ways hits that sweet spot for the Avalanche, that it could make a lot of sense if he doesn't stay in Montreal for him to be a target in Colorado to help flesh them out. A guy that can play in probably your bottom six. I don't know. I don't think he's really a guy you want pinching up into your second line, but definitely a dude that he's been around the block a few times, right? He's not a stranger to knowing what you need to do to be an effective NHL player on a third or fourth line.
Yeah, I mean, Dvorak was like a really underrated, good player when he was in Arizona, and then ended up in Montreal and kind of sucks. But I think Dvorak fits that mold that we talk about a lot of the reclamation guy, the like skilled guy that kind of just needs the rebirth of his career. If he takes a cheap 1-year deal and plays in Colorado's system, in Colorado's middle six, it's a really good opportunity for him to sort of rebuild it. Because we know that he has the talent to. We've seen it at the NHL level before. It's just there have been a lot of problems. Things haven't gone very well for him in Montreal. And that's why you're not talking about him getting like a big deal, like a lengthy multi-year deal at age 28. He's a dude that is gonna, I think, have to play for cheap for a year or two, and then we'll see. But I like him. I like the game. There's a lot of risk there that gets mitigated if you pay him not very much money, and everybody just understands. Yeah, the deal here is come here, rebuild your value, and then after a second year of cap explosion, go out back into the market and see if you can get paid.
Like, yes, there is risk, but this is also a guy that might be cost effective that scored over 30 points last year. Again,
yeah,
depth production. I think it's something the Avs might be looking for this offseason. Yeah. So did you have him on your list, AJ, or was he not on it?
Yeah, I would put him next.
Okay.
At 8.
I had him in there too.
Cool.
So it's perfect fitting.
Good. With that, we quickly run down my list, and we've covered all of my bottom 5. So if you guys have guys at the bottoms of your list, pop off.
Yeah, the
I'm
one
good.
guy that I do have at the bottom of my list, I don't think he's going to make it to market, but I really like Connor Brown a lot, and I think that if he were to get out into the market, that's a guy that I just think would be awesome. I really like him. I think he had a really good bounce back year in Edmonton after a disaster coming back from the knee injury. I think it was a knee injury last season where he played terribly. Much better. Really good bottom 6 player. He was a really good bottom 6 player in Washington. Really good bottom 6 player now. Once again, you don't want to put that guy at the top of your lineup. You want him kind of
supported
anchoring
cast
the
for sure.
bottom of your lineup. Yeah. You put again in this world, Ross Colton, Charlie Coyle, Connor Brown. That's a really good third line that you can get to work with. So that's a guy that I really like. That's 8 on my list. So
Yeah, I
Dang.
mean, he's in. I didn't even put him in because in my book he's
Same.
not leaving Edmonton.
Yeah.
Because if he's leaving Edmonton,
yeah,
it's a question of money. So I think so if he's getting the money, he's not getting it from the Avs. You know what I mean? So that's why I was saying that. But yeah, leader, tight with McDavid, loves those Canadian markets, right? Toronto and
yeah.
wherever he was. No, Edmonton, and all of a sudden, I don't think he gets there, but you know.
Yeah,
I'm fine if we don't put
hesitate
him
because
on
of
the
that.
list
Yeah,
because of that.
right.
Yeah.
It not because we don't like the player. It's just I don't see
Yeah.
how he ends
No,
up in
there's
Colorado.
so many what ifs now. Yeah, we all know there's still a month, so things will change.
All right.
So
It's like Armia, things like that. I agree with James on Armia too. I like Joel Armia, so
Armia was
Anyway.
11 on my list, so
yeah,
Yeah.
there you
just
go.
missed.
So
another guy that I just don't think is leaving, so I didn't even
Yeah.
bother.
exactly. Yeah.
All right. Let me bring up my Bay for a minute. And I talked about him the other day. I put him as my want if he's available in our roundtable, which, by the way, go become a diehard today. Go check out all of the awesome stuff AJ writes and all of our other content. I know we have a couple more roundtables planned, and we have a bunch of other cool stuff this summer. So it's always a good time to become a diehard and get great deals, get a free shirt when you sign up, and all that good stuff. So yeah, help support us. Daniel Sprong. Nothing.
Yeah.
No reaction.
Bad.
No.
I get it. I really
Bad
do
guy.
think. Yeah, sure, I get it. But
What'd you say, AJ? Sorry.
I said bad guy.
Yeah, we talked. Oh yeah, AJ was on the pod a few days ago. Remember we said it? We said it's more like off ice issues for him, right? It's like a question of character slash where do I fit, and it just seems to be complicated. But if it's not complicated, then he pops off, right? So I don't know. I just don't think he would get that cookie ice, right? He'd get that nothing burger ice that I talk about all the time.
if
So
you're
I think
talking
it'd be
about
tough. But I
building,
like your thought process, Rudo. I do.
if you're talking about building a second power play unit that you actually want to use, he can fit in on that.
Yeah.
He's a guy who can produce. Sure. If you have problems with the off ice stuff and you just do not want to touch, I get it. Not going to blame you for that. But
that's where I am. On the ice, the player, no issues.
Yeah, it's fine. And like obviously you have to manage your locker room and things have to be feeling good and positive. But I do think we are in a world where obviously the organization they're going to do what they think is best, and I don't want to speak for them, but from a fan base perspective, I think a lot of Avs fans like to put the Avs on a bit of a pedestal where they only kept good players or players that are great off of the ice. And, I don't want to bury anyone, but that's not really the reality anymore with what we've gone through with guys like Val Nichushkin, with other options that they've gone with and moved on from, even as recently as last year. So, yeah. I'm just saying at the end of the day, it's a business. And if you want to win games, obviously there's a line you have to draw. But sometimes a dude who's a little bit of a diva or whatever can make things work for you. Yeah,
definitely. I know we're getting down to it, so we want to kind of kick this into some gear here. But
let's talk about a lot of defensemen.
Yeah, can we transition into the defensemen, since I don't think we're going to go with Sprong.
No, yeah, you can leave them off. It's fine.
Okay.
And you don't have Beauvillier anywhere? Your boys, you guys' boy Beauvillier, the French guy?
He's higher on my list.
Oh, okay, perfect. That's what I thought. All right, I just want to make sure.
Yep, we'll get there. My first defenseman on my list, I have Mike Riley. I don't know if he's... I don't know,
healthy.
I don't get it with Mike Riley. He puts up consistently really good underlying numbers. I understand who he is, and who he isn't. I get that he's a puck mover. He's not super physical, but he's a really good skater. And we're talking about like a long stretch here of his career where he's just a solid defenseman. Just a good player, good productive player, reliable, and he's cheap every year. The guy is always cheap. He's always cost efficient. And that's I mentioned earlier redundancy with Sam Malinsky. In this case, he's left-handed, so we're not talking about them fighting for a roster spot. We're a defense with Gerard, Malinsky, and Mike Riley. If you want to make the argument that it's too soft, I am here for that argument. But also, you have to win regular season games along the way. Like, I'm kind of this guy will get you through the regular season to the trade deadline where you can hopefully figure out some answers here. If Sam Malinsky is the real deal, then you can add. He's kind of like Sam Malinsky bust insurance for me. Where if if Malinsky really doesn't take a meaningful step forward from where he was last season, you know Mike Riley is right there. He can be a 7 for you. He can be a rotational guy. I think he checks all the boxes, the stylistic fit. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's seen a lot of things. He's just a good, solid, reliable player with the obvious caveat that he's soft.
Yep.
Yes.
I didn't have him on my list, but I really don't have a problem with him here. I think the top of this board should be mostly, if not exclusively, defensemen. So I'm good with it.
You're talking about buy low, like this is going to be low, you know what I mean? Because he was, he had that disease, whatever he did, right? The whole year. And was it, I don't remember what he had, but obviously played at the end of the year. But I loved him in Boston a few years back, that magical season. Yeah, he was awesome. So puck moving guy, you can go, probably a guy you can get for, it's your last summer, the Hans and, those types of guys, you know what I mean? Like that's what it fits into, I like it.
It's not sexy.
It's not. You want another not sexy move? This is me guessing. You got to have Nate Schmidt up here somewhere. The way you've talked about him.
I know. I mean, that's what I was saying. For me, it's like the pickup of the summer last summer. You know what I mean? At buy and low. So again, does he does he have to buy low again, or is he probably not buy low? Does he go low again? He probably gets a deal now. Not what he used to have, but he probably gets a 2-year deal now instead of 800. He probably gets a 2-year deal at 2+. You know what I mean? That's just what I think. With the Avs, I think he's a perfect Avalanche. Skates, puck mover, great person, great locker room guy. If you don't think it matters, it matters. So yeah, I have him there. Yes.
Also, contract model has him at 2 years, $3 million for a third pairing defenseman. I'm good. Personally, I have no problem with that. It's $500K too much.
Okay. So you're on my book. I like it.
I am
Good.
I feel like $500K too much is going to go on my tombstone because I say it every year, but he's just rock solid. And everything that he does well are things that the Avalanche do well, want to do well, and need more of.
Let me simplify the conversation. Would you rather have Nate Schmidt or Ryan Lindgren? Because that's pretty much what the conversation is.
That's a hard conversation for me because stylistically, what they need more of is Ryan Lindgren, the defensive defenseman, going to kill a lot of penalties, going to throw the body around, great character guy. Nate Schmidt doesn't really do a lot of that. So that's you can make a stylistic argument for either, but Ryan Lindgren wasn't so good here that it's a slam dunk.
Correct. Let me throw another name in the ring. I think we're all probably comfortable with Schmidt somewhere in the top 7. Taking your silence as a yes.
Yes.
Maybe a similar conversation to Nate Schmidt. Brian Dumoulin.
I have number
4. He was number 4 on my list. So
I had him at 5.
I like I have him there. Range, size, experience, winner. Put him in there.
He was
Yep.
a guy. We had a conversation about the trade deadline last year. He ended up going to New
Yep.
Jersey. His regular season results in New Jersey were great. His playoff results were horrible, but that includes a significant number of injuries to New Jersey's defense, and he was playing way ahead of where he should have been.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Let
right
me
there.
read you real quick, okay? Time on ice by game: 37, 24,
I know.
36, 23, 24.
No.
Obviously, overtimes play into that, but the big problem with Brian Dumoulin is that he had to be a top pairing guy, and he's not a top pairing guy anymore. But if you put him next to Sam Malinsky on a third pairing, I think you have a really good fit.
Yep.
Bingo.
Agreed. Okay.
Bingo,
So we're good with
bango.
Dumoulin. Who else we got for defensemen towards the top of our lists?
Who am I missing here? I'm gonna guess Fabro for you guys.
He's a 2 for me.
See, I know you. I know you. What about Grizzly?
I don't have him on my list.
No love for Grizzly, huh?
I had
don't
Grizzly
have,
at the bottom, took him off.
All right.
I don't have either guy.
I mean, Grizzly for me is towards the bottom, but I forgot him earlier. But Mayor of
You guys want to
Charlestown.
sell me on Dante Fabro?
Oh, let Rudo's in love with him.
The
I think he's
Colorado
fine.
Avalanche trade Sam Girard to enter Dante Fabro. And I know he's not going to provide the same offensive forward moving that Sam Girard does, but after the last year, if you believe in the last year that Fabro had, there are some good underlying metrics that you can say, hey, this guy can play on a second pairing for you and provide a pretty decent, well-rounded game. My big question is, what is he going to cost? I don't know if you can have the model. I don't have it up, AJ, but Fabro is a guy who I think has always done a lot of the things that you feel like would fit well in a Colorado Avalanche system, even if he isn't the perfect archetype of a Colorado Avalanche player. Again, these guys towards the top rely a lot more on what do the Avalanche do this offseason. Do they move on from Sam Girard? Do they move on from Josh Manson? Do they move on from both? Some of those things are necessary to make these guys more important than just what they would be today for the Avs.
My problem here with Fabro is that I don't know who he is. And his greatest success as an NHL player came stapled alongside Zach Werenski. And Zach Werenski is
It's a fair
awesome.
concern, yeah.
And he had a huge year last season. Finally stayed healthy, was awesome. Legitimate Norris contender level of awesome. And Dante Fabro, next to Zach Werenski, was really good. Away from Zach Werenski was not any good. And that includes being paired alongside Ivan Provorov, who a lot of people really like and is also on my do not touch list. Dante Fabro to me looks like, hey, he can be really good on your second pairing. Great. Is Zach Werenski going to be on that second pairing with him? No. It's Sam Girard. I'm out. Entirely. I'm out. 4 years, $4.5 million into his contract projection. I'm not touching it. I'm just not touching it.
Yeah,
Figure it out.
At that price, it would be tough. You're essentially saving nothing to bring him in for one of the guys you're moving out at that point. So I get that.
And you're not getting, like, he blocks shots, but he's not very physical. Guys that block a lot of shots but don't hit always make me a little bit nervous, because why are they blocking so many shots? Because they never have the puck. But they're not hitting guys to take the puck away. That combination always makes me just, like, I want to dig further into his game, which is why I did on Fabro. He scored 9 goals this year, which is by far a career high. To me, Dante Fabro feels like so many smoke and mirrors that I didn't even put him on my list, because that feels like a Aaron Ekblad light level of landmine that some team is going to step on. And in 2 years, that guy is getting bought out. Like, I don't remotely trust Dante Fabro.
I really don't think it's that bad. I think Aaron Ekblad is a disaster. I wouldn't put him in that category. He does do other stuff too. He penalty killed just fine in Columbus. You could even argue was a good penalty killer there. That's a definite feather in his cap.
Fair.
And you put him in a system. I think there's enough there that I don't know that you'll see a Josh Manson-esque evolution to his game where nobody thought he had any offense and then you suddenly realize he does. But I do think there is a little bit more there to give when you put him in a situation that is not just, hey, give the puck to Zach Werenski and let's see what happens. With that being said, at $4.5 million, it is tough.
If you guys want to put him at 4, I won't fight you on it. It's just that my personal opinion is no, thank you.
I'm looking at the clock. Are you good?
Yeah, we're in overtime. If you're still watching
Okay.
elsewhere, make sure you get on to DNVR.com for things to continue to see our top 3. Go Offie. You want? I'll leave it up to you. You want?
No,
Gabbro in there?
here's my problem. Here's my problem. BU Terrier, yes, check mark. Good. All right, like it. You're talking about 4.5. That means you're getting rid of one of your. You're already right. We talked about this. I do believe to fix their lineup, they're gonna have to get rid of one of their guys at 4.5. Whether it's
Yeah.
Manson, Sammy, Colton, whatever it is, and now you're gonna add another guy right there. It's not gonna happen. That it's just that the math doesn't work, and that's why it's so hard to do those boards. You know what I mean? And I know we're saying Gravikov, and no crap, I'd love to have Gravikov. How are you gonna make that work? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's the number one guy
not going
for
to be
me
available
of
it
all the
doesn't
guys.
matter. Like,
It's. I agree. It should be number one. You know what I mean? But we're talking about for the Avs, how does that going to work? You know what I mean? So, but that's why Fabro, I like him, but it's like, how are you going to make that work? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Again, one trade makes things work. I don't know. But right now they're not there, right? So it's hard,
And with Fabro, he's not the kind of guy that you do the surgery with multiple, because you move out Manson, but you have to move somebody else out as well to sign him. And for me, he's not the caliber of guy that you do all those gymnastics for. Gavrikov is, which is why I have him 1 on my list.
Yes.
I have no problem with Gavrikov at 1, but I believe you guys are living in fantasy land. He's not leaving.
I also believe that.
I agree with that. I agree with that too. Yeah, I agree.
I didn't put him on my list because I just don't think he's leaving, but I'm fine with him at 1.
That's fine.
We'll get to 1 in
I was
a couple.
Gonna say, I feel like we skipped a lot of steps here. Who am I putting at 4?
Yeah, Fabro at 4.
A soft Fabro at 4.
And
with Gavrikov at 1, I only have one other guy on my list. So who else you got, AJ?
You got from number 4. You got Beauvillier for sure. You guys have that. That's what you guys, right?
Yeah, number 3. I have Anthony Beauvillier. Yes.
3. Sorry, not 4, but 3.
Good with that.
See, yeah. I know my partners. I know them.
Yeah.
French guy.
I've got Beauvillier. We're talking about good, like middle 6 guy, but also Rudo and I have been after Anthony Beauvillier for like 4 years. Yeah. He just continues to be like, he can produce in a limited role in limited minutes with a variety of players around him. He can play with skill. He can play in the bottom 6, like it, all the different things, right? Like,
the flexibility the Avs depth needs.
Yes, exactly. And that's he's replacing Kiviranta. And again, this is a conversation about, I think he only had 25 points this year, so it's not like it should be blowing up a market. But yeah, the Beauvillier has to be another kind of a reclamation, like show me kind of deal. Show that what he did in Washington this past season is something that he can do again. If that's the conversation, then Anthony Beauvillier is an easy yes for me. He is also, this contract projection, 3 years, $3.2 million. That's a no.
Yeah. He's going to have made a lot of money by the
penny over 2.5. It's not happening.
He's going to have made a lot of money when it's all said and done.
Yep. He's gotten some good contracts. Must be nice. Also, projections are allowed to be wrong.
Oh no,
total.
for sure.
I mean, there's already been a handful of them. It's just a starting point. But yeah, I know right in the middle of this is
Yeah.
Logan O'Connor. Had hip surgery and is out 5 to 6 months. So we'll see him in December.
Yep.
Is that true?
Okay. Yeah.
When did they announce that?
1 minute
just
ago.
Yeah, about 2 minutes
Oh.
ago. So
Oh,
yeah,
here we
tweeted it
go.
out.
Here we go. Like Anthony Beauvillier.
Yeah, where's
Sucks
Michael
for
Carcone
LLC.
now?
Hip again? But what's
Hip
going on
again.
with his hips now, Logan?
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
Bad hips.
Is it the same hip? Is it now? Has he had surgery on each hip? You know, like it's.
Oh, that
Anyway,
sucks.
this is we can have this conversation next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, we were talking about the other day. Oh, you can't touch that line. No, I know, until there's one injury, right?
Yeah.
They haven't played a game right now, and then the injuries are starting. So it's just the way it is, right? It's like it's life in the NHL. Well, that's too bad for Logan. God, good kid.
Yeah. So you're already
Right.
starting with man games lost at the start of next season because 5 to 6 months. That's November. So.
Yep.
At the
Eric
earliest.
Robinson, here I come.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I have one more defenseman on my list.
I have 2.
Who you got?
Hold on. Well, I mean, okay, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah,
Either one.
at 2, I have Nick Perbix. We've
Same.
talked about him. He's got great size. Kind of does everything that the Avalanche want. Not as physical as a guy as you would want out of somebody that's 6'4", but right-handed, and excellent puck skill. I want to know where the production is for a guy that's as good with the puck as he is. But I say that about Sam Girard and Sam Malinsky, so just more of the same for me. But I big breakout guy. I've liked him for the last couple of seasons. Really, really, really like the year that he had, the player that he is. I'm a big Perbix guy. You want to talk about somebody that I don't think is gonna get into the market? Tampa Bay can't let this guy go.
Yeah, the reason I love Nick Perbix as an option is because he would be someone that you would give a Tampa Bay type deal to, right? If that guy gets free agency, I'd be willing to take the risk and say, hey, we'll give you a couple of extra years. You're 26. We can lock up your entire prime. And yeah, there isn't a ton of proven track record there, but it could be a guy that helps solve a spot for you for the foreseeable future. So I had Perbix at 1 on my list because I didn't have Gavrikov on it, so it would be 2.
Yeah, everything that he does, the guy that he is, I would definitely give like a 5-year deal to try and flatten the AAV a little bit.
Yep.
So.
All right. And you had,
All right.
you had one more, or is that it?
Yeah, my number 1. It's Vladislav Gavrikov.
Okay, yeah, we're good. So that ends up being what? 6 defensemen in our top 7 on the list. Beauvillier, the only forward getting in. And then we have the secondary options of pick your favorite depth forward option.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry, I freaking swallowed sideways. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't breathe. My only thing though, and again, that's for another day too, is I do have Druin and Lindgren in there. You know what I mean? Like their own.
I consider them internal, different thing.
Yeah,
okay, perfect.
We were
okay,
not
I just wanted to
putting
make sure. Yeah.
those guys on there
all
because they're abs agents. But yeah.
No, but I'm looking at my list and I'm like, okay, now I'm down to those 2 that I have in there as, guys that potentially could fit the puzzle. So, okay, same thing. All right, we're on the same page.
Druin would definitely be on my list too, if you could find him for the right price.
Since we're going to talk about Logan just really quick, because you guys know how I am. There's always a handful of other guys out there. Other guys on my list that I would strongly consider, depending on LOC, money, all the things that go into it, right? Colin Blackwell continues to be like my white whale. Mikey Asimon is a guy that I really like. If Mikey Asimon gets in there, that's a guy that I really enjoy, who would be a wonderful replacement for LOC for a little bit and might just steal a job. Like Mikey Asimon's really good. I wonder about him, but Brandon Tanev's game has kind of slipped, but his style is still really solid.
He's just not my guy.
If it's cheap and it's a 1-year deal, I'm in. If it's anything other than that, I'm out. Somebody in chat has mentioned Mason Appleton a couple of times. I know Winnipeg loves him. That's an easy yes as a bottom 6 guy that like you could put into some different situations. Plays with a lot of energy. Really like him. Again, like these are really limited guys. We're not talking about game changers here, but round out your lineup in ways that could be genuinely helpful. So those are some other guys that I really I have time for that I second, third wave from free agency guys.
Yep.
That's where the Avs got to eat greedy on some of these cheap deals.
Asimon, a Colorado guy, he can be the temporary mayor of Denver while the actual mayor of Denver is on the sidelines. That works for me.
Yeah, he's got some tiger in him. Yeah, I like
it. Look, this is our free agency board, but keep in mind it's our free agency board. There are also potential trade options out there. So there are other directions the Avs could go if they're looking to make hockey trades or flip assets and things like that. But when you're looking at purely free agency, honestly, some of these guys are going to sign for sure before we get to July 1st. But these are some of our favorite options from free agency of Colorado to take a look at. That's about it, boys. We've gone pretty long. Any final thoughts? No.
It's fun.
All right.
We'll have to make a guys who don't get QOs board and a trade board and everything else. Cause the Avs can't just dip into free agency. It's going to be a lot of work for them to try and rebuild the bottom of this roster.
Yep. A long way to go yet for the Avs, but hey, you can use this board as something to work off at the end of June when we're getting your rosters to roast. How about that? All right. That work for you? We are out of here for the day. We appreciate y'all. We are off Saturday. And I guess for you guys, we're off Sunday. That show probably won't come out until Monday or something like that. But we appreciate y'all. Keep it tuned here. Pretty cool thing happening for us this weekend. If you were a diehard, bar. Bar will be closed on Sunday for the record. But yeah, another reason to become a diehard. You would already know what's happening on Sunday, possibly. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one. Till then, this has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.